Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari Jaya Vishnupad Paramahamsa Prabhupada Astotra Sri Shimad Nitya Lila Pravisnam His Divine Grace Srila Abhay Charan Arvinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Raja Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Shri Radha Govinda Deva Ki Gaur Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees. Gaur Premanandi. Hare Krishna. Narayanam Namaskritya Naranchaiva Narotamam Devim Sarasvatim Vyasam Tojayam Udirayet Nastapareshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Tamashloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishnaki Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 12. Dhruva Maharaj goes back to Godhead. Text number 27. Etad Vimana Pravaram Uttama Shloka Molina Upastapitam Ayusman Adirudham Tvam Arhasi Etadvimana Pravaram Uttama Shloka Maulina Upastapitam Ayusman Adirodhum Tvam Arhasi Etad Vimana Pravaram Uttama Shloka Maulina Upastapitam Ayusman Adirodhum Tvam Arhasi Etad Vimana Pravaram Uttama Shloka Maulina Upastapitam Ayusman Adirodhum Tam Arhasi. Etad This Vimana airplane, Pravaram, unique, Uttama Shloka, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Molina, by the head of all living entities. Upastapitam, sent. Ayusman, O immortal one. Adi Rodhum, to board. Tvam, you. Arhasi, are worthy. O immortal one, this unique airplane has been sent by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is worshipped by selected prayers and who is the chief of all living entities. You are quite worthy to board such a plane. Purport by His Divine Grace, ISKCON's founder Acharya, Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. According to astronomical calculation, along with the pole star, there is another star which is called Shishumar, where Lord Vishnu, who is in charge of the maintenance of this material world, resides. Shishumar, or Dhruvaloka, can never be reached by anyone but the Vaishnavas, as will be described in the following shlokas. The associates of Lord Vishnu brought the special airplane for Dhruva Maharaj and then informed him that Lord Vishnu had especially sent this airplane. The Vaikuntha airplane does not move by mechanical arrangement. There are three processes for moving in outer space. One of the processes is known to the modern scientists. It is called Kapota Vayu. Ka means outer space and Pota means ship. There is a second process also called Kapota Vayu. Kapota means pigeon. One can train pigeons to carry one into outer space. The third process is very subtle. It is called Akash Patana. This Akash Patana system is also material. Just as the mind can fly anywhere one likes without mechanical arrangement, so the Akash Patana airplane can fly at the speed of mind. Beyond this Akash Patana system is the Vaikuntha process, which is completely spiritual. The airplane sent by Lord Vishnu to carry Dhruva Maharaj to Shishumar was completely spiritual, was a completely spiritual, transcendental airplane. Material scientists can neither see such vehicles nor imagine how they fly in the air. The material scientist has no information about the spiritual sky, although it is mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita, Parastasmatu Bhavonya. Om Jnana-timirandasya Jananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Gajamayam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shiyuta Paragamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vidham Dham Sajivam Advaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Dehivam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakavitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandho Jagatpate, Gopisha Gopika Kanta, Radha Kanta Namostute, Jayatam Surato Pangor, Mama Mandamater Gati, Matsarva Svapadam Bojo, Radha Madana Mohano, Dibyad Brindaranya Kalpa Drumada, Srimad Ratnagara Singha Sanasto, Srimad Radha Srila Govinda Devo, Prestalabi Savyamano, Smarami, Sriman Rasa Rasarambi, Bamsi Bhattatatasti Taha, Karshan Venus Fanar Gopir, Gopinatha Shriye Stuna, Tapta Kanchana Gorangi, Radhe Brindavaneshwari, Vishabhanu Sute Devi, Pranamami Hari Priye, Manchakalpa Tirubyascha, Kripa Sindhubhyevacha, Titanam Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo, Namo Namaha, Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Shri Vasadi Gora Bhakta Vrinda, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Etad Vimana Pravaram, Uttama Shloka Maulina, Pastapitam Ayusman Adi Rudhumtam Arhasi. O immortal one, this unique airplane has been sent by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is worshipped by selected prayers and is the chief of all living entities. You are quite worthy to board such a plane. So this wonderful description in the Srimad Bhagavatam of how a pure devotee goes back home, back to Godhead. This is the goal of the Krishna consciousness movement. Prabhupada, in his attempt to fulfill the instruction of his spiritual master to preach Krishna consciousness in the English language, began on his Advent appearance day in 1944, some 81 years ago, Back to Godhead magazine. The goal of this Krishna consciousness movement is to go back home, back to Godhead. Bhakti-mam abhijananti yavanyas chasmi tatvataha. Only by devotional service can I be understood as I am, and only by devotional service can you enter into the mysteries of my understanding. Krishna says, I reserve avajananti mamuda, the 11th verse of the 9th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. I reserve the right of not being exposed to anyone and everyone. The deluded world knows me not as the unborn and infallible. There is a nice verse in the epic 4th chapter of the 2nd canto, which is Shukadeva Goswami's invocation prayers to recite the Srimad Bhagavatam. It is the thinking of the personality of Godhead Sri Krishna who gives liberation. By thinking of his lotus feet at every second, following in the footsteps of authorities, the devotee in trance can see the absolute truth. The learned mental speculators, however, think of him according to their whims. May the Lord be pleased with me. So Prabhupada in today's verse is describing the process to go back home, back to Godhead, to travel in outer space. Prabhupada in yesterday's verse described, we have outlined this in our small booklet, Easy Journey to Other Planets. The scientists, material scientists, can neither see such spiritual vehicles nor imagine how they fly in the sky. The material scientist has no information about the spiritual sky. The mystic yogis, after a strenuous effort to control the senses, may be situated in trance of yoga just to have a vision of the supersoul within everyone. But the pure devotee, simply by remembering the Lord's lotus feet at every second, at once becomes established in real trance, because by such realization his mind and intelligence are completely cleansed of the diseases of material enjoyment. Earlier in this canto, when Shukadeva Goswami appeared on the scene and was elected and unanimously placed on the presidential seat of honor of the ISKCON to address this great meeting of all the sages from all over the universe at the time of Maharaj Parikshit's leaving this world to speak to Srimad Bhagavatam. In the chapter earlier, 1, the first step in God realization, what is it that one should do at the time of death? He is instructing, among other things, one should meditate upon the form of the Lord. This is verse number 19. Thereafter you should meditate upon the limbs of Vishnu, one after another, without being deviated from the conception of the complete body. Thus the mind becomes free from all sense objects. There should be no other thing to be thought of. Because the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu, is the ultimate truth, the mind becomes completely reconciled in him only. Foolish persons, bewildered by the external energy of Vishnu, do not know that the ultimate goal of the progressive search after happiness is to get in touch directly with Lord Vishnu, the personality of Godhead. So Krishna consciousness, Prabhupada has described, is a progression from ultimately to the stage of maturity, from Shraddha to Prema, from neophyte to most advanced. Jayadvaita Maharaj was very nicely in the last two, and particularly the most recent Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita class that he gave, was highlighting the very important principle that one should go methodically and, let's say, honestly, according to where one is actually situated or placed, ultimately, or allowed entrance or allowed, described that when one pleases the spiritual master, that automatically spiritual knowledge is manifested before the disciple. And Prabhupada would use the term, Krishna consciousness is not imaginative ecstasy, but it is practical activity to please the Supreme Lord. So here Prabhupada is describing progressive search for happiness. And in regards to describing the gopis of Vrindavan in the fourth chapter of the Adi Leela, they have no conception of understanding what is happiness, save and except seeing that Krishna is pleased in all respects, and trying to highlight and increase his pleasure more and more and more. That is what is prema bhakti. So here, the progressive search for happiness is to get in touch directly with Lord Vishnu, the personality of Godhead. The supreme and original form of the personality of Godhead is Govinda, or Lord Krishna, the supreme cause of all causes. Therefore, thinking of Vishnu or meditating upon the transcendental form of Vishnu, specifically upon Lord Krishna, is the last word on the subject of meditation. Shukadeva Goswami would not have recommended meditation on the form of the Lord for the attainment of complete spiritual perfection had it not been, if it were not, the topmost process. The Vishnu forms of worship in great temples of India are not therefore arrangements of idol worship, as they are wrongly interpreted to be by a class of men with a poor fund of knowledge. Rather, they are different spiritual centers of meditation. Yes, we have a great spiritual center of meditation at 305 Skimmerhorn Street. And actually, what are your hours? Oh, from 4:30 in the morning until 8:40, until 9 o'clock at night. Of course, when the darshan is closed. But the Lord is giving his darshan every day, throughout the day. So, especially those who are somewhat aware of the greatness and importance of the temple of the Lord, such as most commonly those of Indian origin, they will come throughout the day at various times, have a little time from work or whatever time period they have in avail, and they will just come and meditate on Radha Govinda. The worshipful deity in the temple is identical with the Lord by the inconceivable potency of the Lord. Therefore, a neophyte's concentration or meditation upon Vishnu in the temple, as contemplated in the revered scriptures, is an easy opportunity for meditation for persons who are unable to sit tightly in one place and then concentrate upon Pranav, Omkar, or the limbs of the body of Vishnu, as recommended herein by Shukadeva Goswami, the great authority. The common man can benefit more by meditating on the form of Vishnu in the temple than on the Omkar, the spiritual combination of A, U, M, as explained before. Persons unacquainted with the science of the absolute truth try to create dissension by differentiating between the forms of Vishnu and that of Omkar. So there is no difference at all between the Lord, his deity form, and his holy name, and ultimately, as where Dhruva Maharaj is going to the spiritual world, they're all non-dual, non-different, absolute. So, it is the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, who gives liberation By thinking of his lotus feet at every second, following in the footsteps of authorities, the devotee in trance can see the absolute truth. The learned mental speculators, however, think of him according to their whims. May the Lord be pleased with me. But the pure devotee, simply by remembering the Lord's lotus feet at every second, and remembering what is the Lord's devotional service and what is one's duty, who was the Prabhupada disciple who Prabhupada gave him the nickname Vishvakarma because he was an Rama Raya. So one time he came into Srila Prabhupada's presence. I believe it was a room darshan, or if he was not the only one there were just a few devotees. And Prabhupada just immediately said, we should always be thinking, what is our duty? In the second chapter of the 10th canto, Kriyashu, by manual labor or work, is very important. As the demigods are saying that those who cause others to think of your lotus feet also achieve pure devotional service. That all our activities in this Krishna consciousness movement are centered around distributing Krishna literature. Prabhupada said in another place, the purpose of this Krishna consciousness movement is to distribute real knowledge to the people. You know, the philosophy is that without Krishna consciousness, everyone is very foolish, no matter how well situated they are materially. Yet at the same time, if we have like an immature or puffed up conception, well, I know better than them, and the meeting of false egos, it results in zero or less than zero. You give a bad impression. So their intelligence is being misdirected or misapplied. Intelligent they are, but they don't have the proper knowledge to actually make the right choice for the proper execution of their invaluable human form of life. So therefore, the formula to reach these people, Lord Chaitanya has enunciated, Trinadapi Sunichena Taroriva Saheshtuna Amanina Manidena Kirtaniya Sadahari. Prabhupada would remark, the process is this, and this is in regards to Prapodananda Saraswati's description. You are a very learned man, you are so qualified, you are so wonderful. I beg you, I have one humble request. Yes, what is that? You've approached me in such humility. Kick out all of this foolishness, forget everything you've learned, and simply hear the words of Lord Chaitanya. We don't actually say that, but we want to be so empowered and blessed and authorized by our predecessor acharyas that we can, by comparison, show, demonstrate, emulate the glories of love of Godhead, Krishna consciousness, how it is by far superior on all levels, physically, intellectually, emotionally, much more desirable than anything anyone else is absorbed in or think that is good. One thing that Prabhupada remarked about the Americans and the Europeans, the young people, that they had reached the stage of renunciation, which is most important to be able to take to Krishna consciousness with determination. They were not interested in the inane, false, materialistic happiness Satsvarup Maharaj, in describing the hippies of the Lower East Side, they had not sold their soul to a system where the player, just to acquire material goods, sold his soul to a system that's already rotten. Aimless as they were, they had wanted something higher. And Prabhupada said, they are our best candidates. So we have to be responsible to reach people on all levels of life and endeavor in human society and impress upon them the greatness and superior desirability of Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan movement. As stated in the Brahma Samhita, the mental speculators, even by dint of learned scholarship, cannot even dream of the absolute truth by speculating over it for eternity. The Lord reserves the right of not being exposed to such mental speculators, and because they cannot enter into the practical, they cannot enter into the network stem of the lotus feet of the Lord, all mental speculators differ in conclusions, and at the end they make a useless compromise by saying, quote, as many conclusions as many ways, according to one's own inclination. But the Lord is not a shopkeeper trying to please all sorts of customers in the mental speculator exchange. I'll read that again. The Lord is not a shopkeeper trying to please all sorts of customers in the mental speculator exchange. The Lord is what he is, the absolute personality of Godhead, and he demands absolute surrender unto him only. The pure devotee, however, by following the ways of previous acharyas or authorities, can see the Supreme Lord through the transcendental medium of a bona fide spiritual master, anupashyati. The pure devotee never tries to see the Lord by mental speculation, but by following in the footsteps of the acharyas, mahajano yena kata sapanta. Therefore, there is no difference of conclusions amongst the Vaishnava acharyas regarding the Lord and the devotees. You see, in any body of wisdom, one person becomes like the prominent acharya, and his idea and whatever will last for however many years. In previous centuries, it might last 100 years, but these days, with all the technology, it might last like a month or something, The Charles Darwin theory of evolution, and everything follows that. I remember when I was in grade school, they were teaching us this foolishness. You go to take a field trip to the Museum of Natural History on 81st Street in Central Park West, and see, you see all the Neanderthal men behind the glass window and how they started a fire and invented the wheel, and this is what we were 40,000 years ago. Oh, wow, And look at the dinosaurs here, there's a whole Tyrannosaurus Rex and a Brontosaurus and a Stegosaurus. Wow, look at that, All just complete, foolish, erroneous mental speculation. Whereas the acharyas, for thousands of years, millions of years, their conclusion and their ascertainment of what is the truth never changes. Always the same. Therefore, there is no difference of conclusions amongst the Vaishnavacharyas regarding the Lord and the devotees. Lord Chaitanya asserts that the living entity Jiva is eternally, not 100 years ago or 2,000 years ago or whatever the idea that people have, eternally, always, the servitor of the Lord, and that he is simultaneously one with and different from the Lord. The tattva of Lord Chaitanya is shared by all four sampradayas of the Vaishnava school, all accepting eternal servitude to the Lord even after salvation. And there is no authorized Vaishnavacharya who may think of the Lord and himself as one. Or anyone who thinks like that and proposes that he is a guru is actually completely rejectable and false. Not a guru, a misleader. The humbleness of the pure devotee, who is 100% engaged in his service, puts the devotee of the Lord in a trance by which to realize everything, because to the sincere devotee of the Lord reveals everything. As stated in the third of the 4 seed verses of the Bhagavad Gita. Who can say what that chapter is? That's very good. Give this man an award. The Lord, being the Lord of intelligence in everyone, even in the non-devotee, favor his devotee with proper intelligence so that automatically the pure devotee is enlightened with the factual truth about the Lord and his different energies. The Lord is revealed not by one's speculative power or by one's verbal jugglery over the absolute truth. Rather, he reveals himself to the devotee when he is fully satisfied by the devotee's service attitude. Service attitude. Dayananda Prabhu was the temple president in Los Angeles in 1970 when Prabhupada, perceiving some difficulty in ISKCON based on certain persons trying to minimize his position as the founder Acharya, Prabhupada was very content up until that time to remain in the West, particularly the United States, and particularly within the United States, Los Angeles, which he made the headquarters of ISKCON. He was asking, or bringing in his closest disciples, what should I do? What should I return to India? Should I, remain here? And Dayananda Prabhu was like, my goodness, I'm being asked to advise my spiritual master. Hansaduta Prabhu, one of Prabhupada's early disciples who did much pioneering frontier work, going to new places, he felt very, very, as an example, very, very wary or cautious about, even when Prabhupada asked him, what do you think about this situation? He would say, Prabhupada, do you really want me to say? He very humbly said, yes. Then, only then would he give his opinion about the particular matter. So Dayananda, thinking he could dodge the issue, said, well, Prabhupada, you should do whatever you want to do. That's like a nice way to hear it. And Prabhupada said, what do I want to do? I want to spread Krishna consciousness all over the world. In another place, Prabhupada is saying, if a devotee really loves the Lord, he'll want to spread the Lord's name and fame like wildfire all over the world. And Prabhupada, by his example, Prabhupada in the first major blizzard of the winter of 1965 into 1966, 10-degree weather. Who has gone on the Upper West Side tour? Raise their hand. Right? You haven't gone there? No? What's the matter with you? You're in New York all this time, you know? So, like when we go, I tell all devotees, put a Geiger counter on your legs. Now we're going to walk this distance. And this is from where we're staying in the Hatha Yoga, 5th floor, the 100 West 72nd Street, all the way to 33 Riverside Drive. And what I try to do with everybody at that point, now we have to go back. Oh, we're too tired just walking one way. It was a round trip that Prabhupada did. Of course, not immediately. You can go and cook and spend whatever time there and, you know, bathing and cooking and taking prasadam, but you have to walk back. So much difficulty, so much austerity. Just keep pushing, no matter what, whatever obstacle, whatever the material energy. It's ultimately Krishna giving the opportunity for the devotee to triumph. And it is recorded for the future glorification of the devotee. So we are directly in line from His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada, and he is our founder Acharya, and we must follow in his mood, the mood of the devotee. He reveals himself to a devotee when he is fully satisfied by the devotee's service attitude. Shukadeva Goswami is not the mental speculator, and here's a similar synonym to mental speculator: compromiser, on the theory of as many ways, as many conclusions. Rather, he prays to the Lord only, invoking his transcendental pleasure. That is the way of knowing the Lord. This is a very wonderful chapter, by the way. Prabhupada chanted it, all the beautiful Sanskrit for each of these verses, and you can listen on the Bhajan series of Srila Prabhupada. And he chanted this at that address, 100 West 72nd Street, in this winter, foundational winter of 1965 to 1966. May the Lord, who in the beginning of the creation amplified the potent knowledge of Brahma from within his heart and inspired him with full knowledge of creation and of his own self, and who appeared to be generated from the mouth of Brahma, be pleased with me. And in regard to the ultimate conclusion of Krishna Sambandha, the highest understanding of Krishna consciousness, this amazing verse, text number 24 of this 4th chapter, Namastasmai Bhagavate Vasudevaya Vedase Papur Jnana Mayam Somya Yan Mukham Purhasadam Hasavam. I offer my respectful obeisances unto Srila Vyasadeva, who is the father of Shukadeva Goswami, the incarnation of Vasudeva, who compiled the Vedic scriptures. The pure devotees drink up the nectarian transcendental knowledge dropping from the lotus-like mouth of the Lord. In pursuance of the specific utterance, Vedase, or the compiler of the system of transcendental knowledge, Srila Sridhar Swami has commented that the respectful obeisances are offered to Srila Vyasadeva, who is the incarnation of Vasudeva. Srila Jiva Goswami has agreed to this, but Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has made a further advance, namely
that the nectar from the mouth of Lord Krishna is transferred to his different consorts, and thus they learn the finer arts of music, dance, dressing, decorations, and all such things which are relished by the Lord. Such music, dance, and decorations enjoyed by the Lord are certainly not anything mundane, because the Lord is addressed in the very beginning as para, or transcendental. This transcendental knowledge is unknown to the forgotten conditioned souls. Srila Vyasadeva, who is the incarnation of the Lord, thus compiled the Vedic literatures to revive the lost memory of the conditioned souls about their eternal relation with the Lord. One should therefore try to understand the Vedic scriptures, or the nectar transferred by the Lord to his consorts in the conjugal humor, from the lotus-like mouth of Vyasadeva or Shukadeva. By gradual development of transcendental knowledge, one can rise to the stage of the transcendental arts of music and dance displayed by the Lord in his Rasa Leela. But without having the Vedic knowledge, one can hardly understand the transcendental nature of the Lord's rasa dance and music. The pure devotees of the Lord, however, can equally relish the nectar in the form of the profound philosophical discourses and in the form of kissing by the Lord in the rasa dance, as there is no mundane distinction between the two. Beyond this Akshapatana system is the Vaikuntha process, which is completely spiritual. The airplane sent by Lord Vishnu to carry Dhruva Maharaj to Shishumar was a completely spiritual, transcendental airplane. The material scientist has no information about the spiritual sky, although it is mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita, Parastasmatu bhavanyo vyakto vyakta sanatana yas sarveshu bhuteshu nat yastu navinasyati. This is the verse 20 of the 8th chapter, Attaining the Supreme. And after describing the incredible, arduous sojourn, actually different word than sojourn, let's say ordeal of the conditioned soul through all the various yuga cycles and partial devastations of the universe, complete devastation, being absorbed into the body of Mahavishnu for countless millions of years. Brahma Bhuvanal Loka, Puna Arvitunarjuna, from the highest planet in the material world down to the lowest, all are places of repeated birth and death. Prabhupada has described that the major religions of the world at best have only a very vague conception of the soul, of what is life after death, what is heaven, what is hell. They have even no understanding that there's an eternal spiritual world. They think that heaven is an eternal place. But here, from the highest planet in the heavenly planets, even there it's repeated, but even the greatest lifespan of Lord Brahma, one has to die. And because of that, all of them are places of what word starts with M? Misery. Miserable. When repeated birth and death take place. We all have it in the back of our mind that I have to die someday. How can you be peaceful and happy knowing that who you are. This is me. I'm looking in the mirror. I'm nothing else but this. This is me. These are my things. These are my people. And we're identifying my generation, how times just, everybody thought they were so cool being like a hippie or a avant-garde bohemian in the 60s or early 70s. But now, you're just an old man. Get out of the way, What is this, 3/4 of the population wasn't even alive to remember your grander greatness and incredibleness, And the people who are now thinking that they're grand, great, and incredible, they're going to be moved along by the conveyor belt and thrown in the dustbin of, what does Prabhupada say one place? Thrown into historical oblivion. By human calculation, 1,000 ages taken together form the duration of Brahma's one day, and such also is the duration of his night. At the beginning of Brahma's day, all living entities become manifest from the unmanifest state, and thereafter, when the night falls, they are merged into the unmanifest again and again. Prabhupada says in one place, one should remember all of these devastations so that one will, I think I should try something different. Prabhupada says in the first canto, this is really primordial and deep, deep remembrance. Within the memory of everyone, Lord Chaitanya has appeared in this age of iron industry. So Prabhupada is indicating that we should all remember where we were and what we were doing 539 years ago. And maybe, I don't know, we were a chipmunk and we ate like some type of peanut that the devotee threw to us at Rath Yatra, like 500 years ago, and now we'd be... Do you remember where you were 539 years ago? What? Again and again, when Brahma's day arrives, all living entities come into being, and when arrival of Brahma's night, they are helplessly annihilated. Who likes to be in a helpless position? Okay, no, you don't like, well, I mean, if Krishna is the one who's your helper, that's all right. But say you sit down in the subway car and then some madman comes in threatening and menacing anyone, and you can't do anything until the thing gets to the next station and hopefully you can get off. That's a helpless position, for example. So after all this, in Prabhupada's translation, he uses one incredible, very profound, and heart-moving 3-letter word, which really just like relieves you of all of this, Is there any way out of this madness and mess? Yet. There is another nature. Really? What is it? Which is eternal and is transcendental to this manifested and unmanifested nature. Yes. Yet there is another. Wow, that's great. Tell me about it. I want to know. It is supreme and is never annihilated. When all in this world is annihilated, that part remains as it is. That which the Vedantists describe as unmanifest and infallible, that which is known as the supreme destination, that place from which, having attained it, one never returns. That is my supreme abode. The supreme abode of the personality of Godhead, Krishna, is described in the Brahma Samhita as Chintamani Dham, a place where all desires are fulfilled. The supreme abode of Lord Krishna is known as Goloka Vrindavan. It is full of palaces made of touchstone. There are also trees called desire trees that supply any type of eatable upon demand. There are cows known as Surabi cows, which supply a limitless supply of milk. In this abode, the Lord is served by hundreds of thousands of goddesses of fortune, Lakshmis, and he is called Govinda, the primal Lord and the cause of all causes. The Lord is accustomed to blow his flute, Mainam Vanantam. His transcendental form is the most attractive in all the worlds. His eyes are like lotus petals, and the color of his body is like the color of clouds. He is so attractive that his beauty excels that of thousands of cupids. He wears saffron cloth, a garland around his neck, and a peacock feather in his hair. In the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna gives only a small hint of his personal abode, Goloka Vrindavan, which is the supermost planet in the spiritual kingdom. A vivid description is given in the Brahma Samhita. Vedic literatures, Katha Upanishad states that there is nothing superior to the abode of the Supreme Godhead, and that that abode is the ultimate destination. When one attains it, he never returns to the material world. Krishna's supreme abode and Krishna himself are non-different, being of the same quality. Why do we go to Vrindavan? Why do we take the trouble? On this earth, Vrindavan, 90 miles southeast of New Delhi, is a replica of the supreme Goloka Vrindavan located in the spiritual sky. When Krishna descended on this earth, he sported on that particular tract of land known as Vrindavan, comprising about 84 square miles in the district of Mathura, India. Etad vimana pavaram, uttama shloka maulina, upastapi tam ayusman, adi rodhum tam arhasi. O immortal one, this unique airplane has been sent by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is worshipped by selected prayers and who is the chief of all living entities. You are quite worthy to board such a plane. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Any questions or comments?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
I have two questions. The first has to do with this purport. There's that sentence that states how
About flying pigeons into
about
outer space?
training pigeons to fly us in outer space. How can we, or how can I understand that better?
Anyone present with superior understanding than myself, which is very little to almost none? One time, devotee asked a disciple, Prabhupada, how am I supposed to believe that Lord Brahma, his carrier is a swan? And Prabhupada said, what is your experience? Practically nothing. Just like the mistake of trying to understand the Leelas of the Lord and his conjugal associates, we try to, I see, boys and girls, carrying on, so it must be like that so I can, comfortably categorize it and put it into my intellectual box. So maybe more scientifically engaged devotees can try to answer that question. It's beyond my capacity to. I just simple faith that this is being stated by the authorities in the Srimad Bhagavatam, so.
Thank you.
No, I'm sorry that I can't.
No, but your point of how Lord Brahma rides, your point on how Lord Brahma rides on a swan, I feel like helped me connect more to that idea, because in the purport, Prabhupada's saying how, yeah, these pigeons or aircrafts, they're not like the Vaikuntha aircrafts. They can't
Right.
go past the material sky. In that same way, Lord Brahma's carrier, even though it's this like heavenly swan carrier, it still can't go beyond the material world. It can't go to Vaikuntha Loka. So that helped
Right.
connect at least a little bit more. And then my second question was, you mentioned how Prabhupada had stated how the Americans at that time were already renounced.
Yeah.
And so they were ready to kind of take up Krishna consciousness. And nowadays, at least in this current generation, it seems like they're less renounced and
Less
more
renounced.
than, say, what I hear of the hippie days.
Yeah.
And they're more attached to their false material things. So do you think that this spreading of Krishna consciousness, especially currently in America, do you think it has to do with a timing?
It's currently in America, then I lost you.
Currently
The sound and I
Yeah.
just don't know. It's like really hard for me to understand. So maybe speak slowly or take the thing far away and speak loudly.
Currently in America, there seems to be less renunciation
Yeah.
present in the youth's culture. Do you think, therefore, it's a timing? It's a
Timing?
It's a timing as to when this Krishna consciousness spreads and expands or slows down in different parts of the world. For instance, in India right now,
Yeah.
ISKCON is booming like anything.
Right.
However, when Prabhupada came, he was having trouble establishing it in India.
Yeah.
And it became booming in the West. So do you think it's more of a timing thing, and we have to be patient?
Yeah. Correct.
Or
But Krishna consciousness is always applicable in every time, place, and circumstance. You're entitled to perform your duty, but you're not entitled to the fruits. Narada Muni Prabhu, he quoted to me a wisdom saying by Rabindranath Tagore, famous Indian poet, thinker, said, one who plants seeds that will grow into big shade trees, knowing full well that he will not be alive to enjoy the shade, is a very compassionate person. So we're using our lifespan, and we're saying, my generation, and, it's like we always have to be, in the spirit of handing the baton over to the younger, because they're going to carry the thing forward. We can very reasonably say that the ability for people to accept, let's say, the components of Krishna consciousness, such as vegetarianism, holistic lifestyle, yoga. Krishna says, I am the healing herb in the Bhagavad Gita, so people are more interested in searching out, how before modern big pharmaceutical things came about in the last 100 or more years, how did people take care of themselves in ancient spiritual cultures? This is much more, whereas like 50, 60 years ago, this was unheard of. So we want to see the full sun in the sky, but, when it's completely dark, like this is the darkest night of the year, Anu Amavasya. So in the beginning, before the sun rises, there's the hint of dawn. But just that hint of dawn, the beginning of lighting of the sky, that's enough to reassure us that the darkness is going to be going away very soon. The Lord being moved by the devotee's merciful attempt, and merciful attempt is hard work. It's not, oh, please be merciful to them, and then I go back to sleep. Kriyasu, by manual labor or work, is very important. One should distribute books so that Maharaj Ambarish, all the hard work he did in preparing the deity worship. We read that in the 4th chapter in the 9th canto. All of this is an austerity, maintaining the deity worship, the schedule, on time, preparing dresses, offerings, cooking the boga, making it first class, cleaning everything, keeping everything in order, is certainly an austerity. Preparing literature, preaching door to door, preaching to atheistic men is an austerity. Such an austerity is necessary. Such austerity leads to the constitutional position of devotional service. Okay, I think we've gone over time, and I don't want to get the vaudeville hook around my neck they used to do this in vaudeville, like if somebody, not they went over time, but if they man, the audience doesn't like it, a big hook would come out and yank them off the stage, or they even had like a trap door, and they were and they would fall through it, Either that or they would throw tomatoes and eggs at you, so we'll say thank you very much. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Gaur Premanandi.